This recording is given to provide an information steward overview. We'll be discussing how data stewards or business users can use information steward to do profiling, analyze their data, do some content discovery, create a data cleansing solution where data can be cleansed and standardized based on their business policies and business rules, and also how we can do some manual review of our data as well. A scenario where Dora is a data steward within a company's global data management team. She's responsible for the customer and the product data domains across the organization for her line of business. And recently, IT created a new custom data mart, pulling together several sources of customer information, including an online prospect list. They needed to do this for the procurement department to support a requirement that they had to deliver a daily and monthly shipping report. The procurement department has produced their first set of reports, and they believe there's some problems with the results they're seeing. So they passed off the reports to Dora to let her take a look at the issues and see if she can determine where the problems are coming from. Dora takes one look at the procurement report and she says, wow, there are some major problems here. She can see right off the bat that there's some duplicate records in there showing the same customers. And then she also looks at the totals and she knows that those totals are not right as well. So she knows there's some definite data quality problems that she needs to address here. Dora also takes a look at the detailed shipping report that is also generated. And when she looks at this, she can see product descriptions are all over the board. And she's wondering what effect this has on operations. So she knows that the data that they're using to generate this report is coming from that new customer online prospect list. And she's not really familiar with that list, so she wants to perform some data assessment on it and determine what the extent of the data quality issues are that may exist in there. And then she wants to be able to fix those and communicate those requirements onto her IT and ETL developers. So Dora is familiar with Information Steward, and she's used it to do some profiling and analyzing of the data in the past. So Dora decides to leverage Information Steward's Data Insight, Data Quality Advisor, the Match Review, and the Cleansing Package Builder to help guide her to rapidly create that solution that improves her data quality, and she is able to get better information and better insight into her data so that they can make smarter decisions on their data. So Dora has already set up a project for online prospects. And she's already performed some profiling and the content discovery on the data. So she first looks at the columns and she can see that there's field 0 through field 14. Those field names do not provide a lot of insight into what data is contained in those fields. So she's glad she ran the content type discovery as well as the profiling. And here she can see with the content type discovery that the field 10 was identified as having content of region or state information. Field 11 has postal code information. Field 12 has email. So when she clicks on email, she's able to see that email was identified 99% that the data in this column is email. But Dora wants to take a look at what data is considered email. So she's able to click on the 99% and actually drill into the data to see what data is in that field. So she can take a look at that column 12 and that all looks to be valid email addresses. So she's happy with the results that Content Discovery returned for her on that. She also wants to take a look at field 11 and she sees that that was identified as postcode. So she clicks on postcode and she can see the results for field 11 show that postcode was 92%, phone was 10%, address line was 5%, and date was 4. So she just wants to take a quick look at the phone and just make sure of the data she's seeing in there. And she can see some numbers in that column, but she just doesn't think they look like phone to her. And she also wants to go back and look at the postcode results. So she can drill into those, and yep, those look more like postal code data that she's seeing there. So she's happy with the results there as well. Dora also noticed that field 12 is identified as a country field, so she can drill into that, and she can see that country was 92% and that region was 44%. So she wants to drill into the country here. And she looks at the field 2 and she sees Brazil, China, German, French. And yes, those are valid country fields, and those are the fields or country data that she would expect with her online prospects since they're a global and international company. So she's happy with the results that she's seeing with the content discovery. Now she wants to take a look at some of the profiling results that she's seeing. So Dora wants to take a look at some of the completeness records here. So she looks at the completeness column and she sees that there are some that have 0% nulls, which she's quite happy with. She also looks at field 12, which contains email data, and she can see that that's 60.9% null. Well, this is an online prospect list, so she wants to make sure that when the users are entering in their information that they change the email to be a required field. So she'll mention that to IT so that they can change the portal that when customers log in that they're required to enter in their email address. So she also takes a look at field 14 here, and she can see that that's a date field. And she can see that that's 85% incomplete or it contains null. So she wants to take a look at that as well and make sure that the system automatically updates the date field information when the customers are logged in. She can also see that there's some patterns here for date, and there's 38 different patterns. So Dora will click on 38, and she can see all the different date fields. So she can see that she's got a 2-digit followed by a hyphen followed by another 2-digit followed by a 4-digit year. She can see sometimes instead of a hyphen they're using slashes, and sometimes they're also using decimals as well. So she can drill into those records and take a look at the data that's actually in there. And she can see, yep, that looks like a date field, and that looks like a valid pattern that's being identified. She can also scroll down and she sees some here where it's got X's, so it's using the actual alpha characters of the month. And she can say, yep, that looks like it's using abbreviated months here. She wants to make sure that when she goes through her cleansing that she makes sure that the dates are all consistent across the board. So Dora goes back to her profiling results. And she notices a couple icons up here that she hasn't used too often, so she wants to kind of familiarize herself with these icons. So the first one is to Data Validation Advisor. So she goes ahead and clicks on Data Validation Advisor, and she can see here that there's already some validation rules that are being used. And she remembers setting up these validation rules when she was doing her global customer master list. So she looks at field 12 and she remembers that was identified as an email. And she can take a look at the validation rule that's being created here. So Dora looks at the suggested validation rule for field 12, and field 12 was identified as a content containing emails. So she looks at the validation rules and she can see here that it says phone is not null or email is not null. And she remembers setting that. She wants to make sure she goes ahead and uses this validation rule. So she'll go ahead and accept this rule. And Dora also looks at field 13, remembering that that was identified as a phone field. And she would want to use the same validation rule that she used with the global master list that she worked on in another project. So the great thing here is that she does not have to recreate these validation rules that she used in another project that she made public. In an organization, typically you have validation rules, they spread across the entire business organization. They're not usually, validation rules are not typically for one project, but they're usually an overall organization's business rules and policies that they want to follow. So by setting them up once and making them public, I can reuse those rules without having to reset that information up. So Dora goes on and looks at the next icon here for Data Cleansing Advisor. So she goes ahead and clicks on the Data Cleansing Advisor, knowing that she wants to create a cleansing solution that will both parse, standardize, enrich, correct, and also identify duplicate records and suspect records that should be used for manual review. So she goes ahead and she creates a project name. Then she's going to create a description explaining what this project is doing. She clicks Next, and here she can see the field names that came in, as well as the content type discovery of what was identified to be in those columns. She can see here that the country was identified for field 2, but she's going to uncheck that. So she doesn't think she needs to use that. But by unchecking that, she gets a message saying that there's missing country data. So she goes ahead and clicks on missing country data, and she can see here that she can select which country she wants to use. So maybe she's doing maybe all of her customers are in Germany, so she would select Germany. Maybe they're all in France, so she would select France. But she remembers that this is Online Prospect, and it contains a lot of different international companies. So she's going to cancel out of here, and she's going to reselect the field 2 as being country. So she likes all the fields that are being selected here, so she clicks Next to go on to the setting up the matching portion. So with matching, she can actually select what type of theme she wants to do. Does she want to match on just an individual, where she's looking at, I want to send one new campaign piece to each individual I have in my list? Or maybe she wants to do family or household, where she wants to send one mail piece to one household instead of each person that lives within that household. One, that'll help them save on postage, and two, it may upset the customers as much by getting 3 or 4 mail pieces just to different people within the household. She can also select a corporation, so maybe she again wants to send one mail piece promoting a new product that they've created to the corporate office, or maybe she wants to send one to everyone that's in that corporate office, both on an individual level and that corporation. By selecting which match theme you want, we'll set up some matching rules for you and you can determine which ones you want to use. Since in this case Dora selected individual, we don't see any corporate matching rules here or corporation levels, which makes sense because we're not looking at the corporate level. So we want to match on person and firm, we want to match on person and phone number, and person and email. We can also add date in there or an ID field that comes in. Maybe you've got a customer ID field that you want to use for matching as well. So then Dora clicks Finish. And then Dora can go to the Data Cleansing Advisory solution and view the results that are returned from that solution. So the solution automatically is making a recommendation how you would want to cleanse and standardize your data and also identifying duplicates. So now Dora can take a look at the results that were returned. And in here you can see that she can look at cleansing results for the address, for the person, a title, firm, even phone number or date. So she's got all these different options. Let's take a look at person. So we can drill into the data and see what was changed. So we can see that some were blank, some had suspects, and some that were cleansed. So we can continue drilling into the data and see what was changed. So name was changed, maybe a prefix was changed, maybe it was just minor changes. But she wants to actually take a look at the data. So Dora goes ahead and clicks on View Data. By clicking on View Data, Dora can actually see the before and the after data. So she can see how the data came in, and how the solution is recommending its suggestion on how the data should be cleansed and standardized. Dora can take a look at this and she sees that there's some general options over here that she may want to use, and she goes ahead and clicks on General Options. And here Dora can see overall she can either change the settings to be proper case or mixed case, or she can select it to be all uppercase. So Dora clicks on all uppercase and she can see that the after results now are uppercase. So she's instantly able to see the results and how the data changes based on the settings that she's setting. And she takes a look at this and she realizes that she really doesn't want it uppercase, so she can undo her change and select mixed case again. And by clicking on mixed case, we can see the data goes, the after result columns go back to being mixed case. She also wants to take a look at some options that she has. So she can go ahead and click on Options, and she'll select options for the person data. And here we can see Dora has options to remove the diacritical characters. So we can either have Maria Hernandez here with accented characters or Maria Hernandez without accented characters. So she selects Maria Hernandez without the accented characters, and she's instantly able to see the results that are returned here for Maria for that after column for the person data. And you can see there's no longer any accented characters. But then she remembers this as online prospects and it's dealing with countries in Germany, France, Japan. So she wants to make sure she lets those accented characters back into the data so that she's retaining how users are entering in their name information. So Dora goes back and goes ahead and clicks on Maria Hernandez with the accented characters. And Dora can instantly see how the name field now contains the accented characters again. She goes ahead and she wants to take a look at some of the other options for address information that she has available to her. So from the drop-down list for options, she selects address. And here she can see she's got some options to make the directional or the suffix long version or shortened or abbreviated, or she can have punctuation or not have punctuation. So she can see those results. She also has results on how the P.O. box will be returned as well as the state. So does she want the state fully spelled out or does she want it being a 2-digit abbreviated state field? So again, she can make these changes and instantly see how those results will look on the screen and make sure that she's getting the results for her to follow her organization's business rules and policies. So Dora is happy with the results she's seeing, so she's ready to go back and take a look at the matching results. So she goes back to the overview and she clicks on the matching records here. And she can see that there was 776 records that were matched, so she wants to take a look at that. There's some records that are high, medium, or low confidence, but she wants to take a look at the overall data. So the matching results appear, and she can see that there's some records or match groups that have some flags in the upper left-hand corners of each of the match group. Those records indicate that maybe you want to do some manual review of those records. Dora wants to take a look at some of the matching results that she sees for addresses, and she can see that there's a slider bar that she can slide the data to make it tighter or looser for matching on address information. Right now she's kind of liking the results she's seen so far, but she's also got some address matching options she can use. Does she want an address to match that has no secondary information to match with one that does have secondary information? And she can check and uncheck these results. As she changes her options, she instantly sees the results on the screen to make sure that the change that she made is one that she's expecting. She can also take a look at person option results, and again she can make those looser or tighter as well. But here she's got some matching options she can look at and she can make John Schmidt match with just an initial of a first name. So she's got some options to select which options she wants to use within her matching results. So she's pretty happy with the results she's seeing overall, so she goes back to the overall screen and she wants to publish this cleansing solution. So by publishing this cleansing solution, what it does is it takes this entire solution, which includes address correction and validation and enrichment, includes data cleansing of the party data with date, email, phone, and name information, and it also takes the matching results and publishes all of that to the Data Services Workbench for the ETL developer to use. So we'll go ahead and close this solution out. So Dora really likes the quick results she's got from the Data Cleansing Advisor, so she communicates that she published this cleansing solution to Dan, the ETL developer. So Dan opens up his Data Services Workbench, and he can see here that there's DQ Online Prospects that Dora created inside of Information Steward is available for him to use. So Dan takes the DQ Online Prospects, and he drags it up onto his canvas, adds a reader transform, bringing in the incoming data, and connects it to his DQ transform. Dan clicks on Detect Mappings and automatically confirms the results that he's seeing and runs his data services job. And now Dan will run his data cleansing solution, which contains all the settings that Dora did inside of Information Steward. Dan, the ETL developer, doesn't have to worry about, does he want his directionals short or long? Does he want matching to be done with abbreviated initials versus a fully spelled out name? He doesn't have to worry about any of that. Dora already ran that and was able to review the results instantly and was able to take that cleansing solution she created and push it down so Dan could use it on the data to cleanse the data. So Dan can see that the data cleansing solution that he ran successfully, so he lets Dora know, and Dora goes into Information Steward. And Dora can see that in her task list, she has some additional tasks that she needs to manually review. So she's going to go ahead and open up those tasks. And she can see that some of them already auto-confirmed. So they met her threshold of what she set for her matching results. So she doesn't need to validate those. But she does have some here she needs to do some manual review on. So she clicks on the For Review. Dora takes a look at the M&I Bank one here. Dora can see that there's 11 different records that are identified, all having M&I Bank. And so she takes a look at those and she wants to review those and create her best record. So on the top here, we can see the best record that's being created based on the configuration that she's already set up. So she overall shouldn't have to change anything. But if she does want to change some stuff, she can change it. For example, she can look at the names and she can say, well, really, I want to only send this to Kelly. She's the main contact at M&I Bank. So she can click on Kelly, drag it up, and drop it into the contact name. And she can see that that's automatically being changed and updated for her. She also takes a look at the organization names, and she knows it's M&I Bank of Beloit, but Beloit is just a branch name, so she doesn't really want to use that in the professional legal name that she's using. So she goes ahead and selects M&I Bank, and she clicks on that and just drags it up to the organization, again automatically updating that organizational column for her so she can see what the best record is going to look like, and she validates that this is how she wants the record to look. And she clicks Finish, and that'll take her then on to the next set of records to look at, to manual review. But Dora wants to start taking a look at that paper cleansing package that she's been working on. So she goes ahead and she goes into Cleansing Package Builder, and she opens up the paper cleansing package. And this is where she's setting up the description so that the product description for the paper data she's looking at was all standardized and consistent. So she can see here that she's got a value of incoming data that's got HP, with no manufacturer being identified. Well, she knows she entered in a manufacturer name of Hewlett-Packard spelled out. So she clicks on Hewlett-Packard, and she noticed that the variation does not include HP. So she's going to click on HP and just drag it up to be another variation to accept. So when she does this, she can instantly see that the results now show that the manufacturer is being identified and standardized now to Hewlett-Packard spelled out. So even though it's coming in as HP, we're going to be able to standardize it as Hewlett-Packard. She also notices she's got some weights here of the paper. So she's got 20 pound, 32 pounds. She's also got 20 with a hyphen pound. And she's also got one that's 24 with the pound sign instead. So she goes ahead and clicks on her weight attribute. And she's going to go ahead and create a context around the weight. So she clicks on the weight, and she's going to select the 20, the hyphen, and the LB. And she's going to click on Define Context. And here you can see it's bringing in the 3 different tokens or values that she highlighted, and she's going to define each of those. For the weight, she's going to enter that as an integer, and she's going to say it has to be a 2-digit integer. So anything from 10 to 99 will be acceptable. Then she's going to look at the hyphen and she's going to enter that as a parsed value, and it's going to contain a hyphen, but she knows that not all the data contain that, so she's going to check on the component is optional box. And then she's going to go to the third value and she's going to enter that as a parsed value as well. And she wants the standard form for a pound to be LB, but she remembers sometimes that when she looks at that, sometimes they're entering LBS, and sometimes they entered in the pound sign, and sometimes the data entry users are entering it as a pound sign. So she likes the results that she's going to see, but she wants to make sure that the way the weight is returned is the same for all of them. So she's going to click on Define Context. So Dora wants to make sure that the return value that's returned for the weight is all standardized and corrected. So she wants to click on the hyphen and she's going to remove that value. So even though if the data comes in with the value, she wants to make sure when it's standardized on output, it is not there. So she'll go ahead and click OK so she can take a look at her results. And Dora can see now that her weight column is all populated and standardized. So Dora can now take a look at the results, and she can see that 24 with the pound sign is being standardized to 24 LB. She can also see the 20-LB is being standardized to 20 LB. Dora can also take a look at the last column here, the paper data, which is the product data that we're looking at, and she can see that the data is creating a standardized description. And she can control how this data looks as well in the order of those different characteristics or attributes that are being returned. She likes the results she sees, so she's going to go ahead and publish this cleansing package so that the ETL developer can now use this published cleansing package within his data services job to cleanse and standardize the paper data. So Dan opens up Data Services Designer, and he goes ahead and creates his reader and his writer and includes a data cleanse transform on there as well. When Dan creates his data cleanse transform, he's mapping in his input data, which is just the product description, to a multi-line. And then Dan set up the cleansing package to be the paper cleansing package that Dora created with all the standards and the business rules, and he's going to use that to cleanse his data. Dan's going to return some discrete components from the paper data as well as a new paper description. So he's going to return the manufacturer information, the weight, the size, as well as the paper description. So Dan's going to go ahead and run the job. Dan sees the job run successfully. He's going to go ahead and click on the data. And here's the incoming data that Dan came in with. And now here's the cleansed data that's being returned. So we can see that we're coming in with Hewlett-Packard, but it's being standardized to Hewlett-Packard. We can see the weight for the first record is 20-LB, but we can see that's going to be standardized to 20 LB. And we can see that we have a new product description that is being entered based on the rules Dora set up for her. So we can see how IS is intuitive, it's simple, it's smart. It gives users that quick start to their data quality initiatives. It allows the data steward or the business user to actually be able to see the results and make sure that they're getting the correct results, be able to tune those results to fit their business and their organization's rules and policies that they need to follow. It allows the users to view how IS and data services provide support for the data steward and the IT to collaborate with each other on the same projects.